What do you get when you cross the gameplay mechanics of Omega Force's Musou / Warriors series with the characters and setting of Nintendo's beloved Legend of Zelda series? While we're there, let's throw in some help from Team Ninja. That's right, you guessed it, or well, you probably would have read it in the video title or description. It's Hyrule Warriors for the Wii U. Published by Koei Tecmo in Japan and Nintendo for North America and Europe, the game has you play as Link, or one of his many allies, in fighting off more enemies than you would have probably killed in Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess combined. But, can a love child of the Legend of Zelda and the Musou games be fun? Find out in today's Infinite Backlog review. Hyrule Warriors is a fairly simple game to get your head around. Much like in the Musou games, your characters run around the field slaying enemies and capturing posts. Throughout each mission you're given tasks that you need to complete in order to finish the map. These range from capturing a certain command point to defeating certain enemies or rescuing your allies. The game does leave room for error, so if you happen to fail an objective it's not necessarily game over unless it happens to meet the defeat conditions. Instead, the game punishes you by making the map a little bit more difficult to complete. The game also has several modes that you can explore, but I'll cover those a little bit later on in the review. The story of the game is covered in Legend mode, in which Link starts off as a trainee soldier at Hyrule Castle when monsters attack. After successfully fending off the monsters with help from his fellow Hylian soldiers, as well as Princess Zelda and her protector Impa, Link and Impa discover that the princess is nowhere to be found at the end of the battle, and this sets the plot in motion. After joining forces with the mysterious Sheik and the sorceress Lana, who is an original character created for the game, the player discovers that an ancient evil had influenced the sorceress Sia, who oversees the Triforce with a neutral point of view, to give in to her desires for Link, and to push out her good side and to give in to her evil. So Link and his newfound friends journey off to stop her, facing and overcoming numerous challenges along the way in order to bring peace back to Hyrule. So let's get this show on the road and we'll go into the good. I really like the way the elements from The Legend of Zelda are incorporated into a Musou game. Throughout the first few levels, Link and his friends pick up items which can be used to destroy or bypass obstacles in the map or defeat enemies, much like how Link finds these items while exploring dungeons in the Legend of Zelda games. Another thing to note is that these weapons are also used to defeat certain boss enemies that sometimes appear on the map, such as using the bombs to weaken King Dodongo, or using the bow and arrows to weaken Goma. Also hidden around throughout the game are 100 gold Skulltulas, which you can also collect across the various modes. These RPG elements, as well as game mechanics, nods, and cameos from the games in the Legend of Zelda series, are quite welcome, and they certainly make this game stand out from the Musou games and their spin-offs. One thing I've found that the Musou games did very well was music. I've always been very fond of the music in the Musou games, and this game is no different. A lot of them are also very recognisable to those who are familiar with the Legend of Zelda games, such as the main theme and the Hyrule Overworld from Ocarina of Time. In relation to the cameos I mentioned earlier, some of the music that Sheik plays are from Ocarina of Time as well, such as the Song of Storms and the Bolero of Fire, among others. I also like the different modes available in this game. The story mode was known as Legend mode, but another mode I frequented was Adventure mode. Set in the style of the Overworld from The Legend of Zelda on the NES, each screen was a different challenge which ranged from killing a certain amount of enemies within a time limit to simply completing a map using a certain character. Some maps give you an item which you can use on the overworld to get rewards or sweeten the incentive of achieving a gold rating on another level. With Legend mode, I also like how throughout the story it isn't always from the perspective of Link and the good guys either. There's a few maps in which you play as the bad guys, with more being available through DLC. Speaking of bad guys, why don't we move right on to the bad. The weapon skills in this game I didn't think have enough impact on the gameplay. Sure, you have your standard skills which increase the amount of damage done by certain combos, but I felt that the Stars Plus, Rupees Plus and Weapons Plus never really benefited me in any way, shape or form while I was playing this game. Being able to assign skills from existing weapons to a new weapon with an empty skill slot was nice, but I thought it was pretty redundant since a majority of skills never really benefited me in the first place, thus providing me with no incentive whatsoever to spend my hard-earned rupees with the weaponsmith, and instead investing it and materials at the badge market, which does give me things that will benefit me on the battlefield, such as being able to capture command posts quicker and being able to damage foes that are blocking. There is also the odd time where the frame rate drops due to too much happening on the screen. Thankfully it's not bad enough to become a nuisance and for you to throw your controller against a wall, but it certainly happens enough to annoy you. As cool as it is killing 50 to 100 enemies with a super attack, it's not cool to have it slow down every time you do it. I also have an issue with the checkpoint system in the game. There is a point in one of Ganondorf's stories where I had to stop Link and Princess Zelda. Now, the thing is though is that when the checkpoint happened, Link was already in my home base wrecking everything, and was about to fall. If I didn't get to Link quick enough, he destroys my home base and I failed the mission. However, it puts me back at the checkpoint where he's already there wrecking everybody. Maybe I should get good, but having the checkpoint save itself just as Link is ready to take my home base, well, it sort of just locks me into things and I'm either forced to redo the map or find a way in which I can beat Link and Zelda quickly enough before my base falls. Thankfully I was able to beat them quickly enough, but if that checkpoint had kicked in just a few seconds before Link captured my home base and I was over on the other side of the map, there would have been absolutely nothing I could do to stop it. Now with that out of the way, let's move right on to the ugly. Ignoring the lack of anti-aliasing that the Wii U seems to have with its games, Hyrule Warriors looks visually appealing, but there were some places where you can see that corners have been cut. So note Link, or well, should I say Dark Link's sword hand in this clip. Here it is again if you missed it. The scenery certainly looks nice and I do love some of the level designs, especially when you return to Hyrule Castle for the final battle. Character designs seem to be pretty solid too, robotic wrist aside. I also like the special attacks that you can perform in the game, very flashy and extravagant, just what I would expect from a game like this. I really love the 8-bit sprites and overworld in adventure mode as well. Overall, graphically, I think this game has done pretty well for itself. And so let's wrap up this review with a final thought. If you enjoyed The Legend of Zelda as well as the Musou games, I have a good feeling that you'll enjoy this. It has the mechanics that make the Musou games fun, as well as some of the RPG elements which The Legend of Zelda is well known for. Although a number of the villains and one of the heroes are original creations made specifically for this game, the cast is recognisable to just about any Legend of Zelda fan. If the repetition that I always seem to hear in regards to the Musou games worry you, the one thing a friend told me about the Musou games is that the game is only boring if you make it boring. Experiment around using your items in combination with your weapons, or make that extra effort to find and collect that one gold sculpture in the level. Even replay some of the levels as other characters, as certain items and rewards can only be obtained if you're playing as a certain character on that map. Nonetheless, if you have a Wii U, I would highly suggest picking up this Hylian genocide simulator. In all, I would rate Hyrule Warriors a Cuckoo out of the Gerudo Desert. Just make sure you don't hit those guys too much or you'll have a one-way ticket to Pound Town. And with that we come to the end of this review for Hyrule Warriors. Stay tuned for the next Infinite Backlog review.